So I just saw Novocaine, the latest film from directing duo Dan Berk and Robert Olsen. The story follows Nathan Caine, a man with CIPA, a condition that prevents him from feeling pain, who is forced into action when the girl of his dreams is kidnapped. With no combat experience and no idea what he's doing, he uses his rare condition to his advantage in what is essentially a John Wick-style action thriller. What drew me to this film was the premise. A guy who's never held a gun before, thrown into high-stakes action, and he can't feel pain. Sounds like a fresh spin on the genre. But does it actually deliver? Well, Nathan Caine is an assistant manager at a bank who deep down has compassion for others and doesn't fully subscribe to the corporate oligarchy. He actually cares about people, which makes him a little too soft for his cold, numbers-driven work environment. But despite that, he's a huge loner, only having one real friend, someone he only talks to online. Everything in his life changes when he meets Sherry, a new hire at the bank. He finally takes a chance, going on a few dates with her, until a bank robbery turns his life upside down and Sherry is taken hostage. Jack Quaid, everyone's favorite Nepo baby, is our leading man, and he's fine. I don't think it had to be Jack Quaid, but he does a serviceable job. All of the performances are fine across the board, although one guy in particular knows how to overact. Like, man, does he know how to overact. Anyone who's seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. One thing to note, this is labeled as a rom-com action movie. The first 15 minutes fit that rom-com bill very well, and after that, the romance gets sidelined and it fully leans into the action. The closest comparison I can make to this is Love Hurts from earlier this year, though I think Novocaine is much better than that film. To start, there's actually some level of chemistry between the main love interests. Wow! The action, while borrowing from the John Wick formula, at least has a fun spin on it. We've seen plenty of these types of movies recently, but this one does just enough to stand out. The protagonist reaching into a fryer to grab a gun and he can't feel any of that pain. That's a cool enough idea to distract from how played out this type of story is, even from just a month ago. At the very least, it looks like everyone involved had a blast making it, and that energy does translate on screen. That said, the film does stumble with the way it delivers information. Early on, there's a reveal that lays way too much on the table, undercutting a major aspect of the story. It's frustrating because the same reveal happens again in the third act, where it should have just been placed from the start. If they had just held on to that info, the second act would have been more engaging. Instead, it really just starts to lose steam as it goes on. After the reveal, I was just sitting there like, okay, why should I care now? Also, there's a couple scenes that gave me Crank vibes, not full-blown Crank chaos, but definitely a little Crank DNA sprinkled in there. And to be honest, a solid 15 to 20 minutes could have been shaved off of this to make it a tight 90-minute ride. Instead, we're creeping up on the 2-hour mark. It does kind of drag. There's also a B-plot following a couple of detectives who are tracking Nathan, and the movie really wants you to care about them, but it falls completely flat. Their scenes are supposed to have an emotional payoff, but they land with the same impact as a soft shrug. Also, there are some characters in this movie that are just incredibly stupid so the plot can happen, and if that pisses you off, you probably won't like this. At the end of the day, Novocaine isn't going to blow you away, but it's a solid enough watch to be entertaining for the first go-around, but not compelling enough to make you want to come back. That's pretty much all I have to say. Go see Novocaine for yourself and let me know what you think.